The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Backpacks for Kids on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about the garden later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up, and we'll get into all sorts of controversial topics with those guys, so stay tuned for that. Lots in store for you throughout the half hour, so I hope you'll stay with us. Where we want to start, though, is working with and helping kids, and that's something our guests know all about. Of course, our good buddies David Daggett and Griff Schuler from Daggett Schuler Attorneys at Law, glad to have them, and they brought along a special guest, Narani Martinez. She's manager of multilingual learner-parent program engagement for the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System, and we welcome all of you. Good to see you.
Hey, Jim.
Thank you.
David, let's start with you. When and why did you create the back-to-school backpack program?
So there's all sorts of back-to-school programs in our community with lots of leadership in our community, which is really pretty special. This particular program, Chief Roundtree came to us from the Winston-Salem Police Department 10 years ago.
Right.
Needed a sponsor to help connect with the school system because police involvement in our schools is very, very important to develop the reputation and relationships and credibility. We jumped in, started doing it, great relationship. The school system has worked with us, and it's just been an ongoing tradition within our firm.
Great partnership. Griff, one thing I want to ask you, can you give any kind of estimation of the number of kids over the years or each year that able to get these backpacks, and also what are in the backpacks?
Well, every single year that we've done it, we've covered 5 elementary schools across the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system. And each year the backpacks are chosen very specifically with no logos on it, no markings, so there's no stigma to them. And they have everything in it that the students need to start the school year properly. So everything you can think of, crayons, pencils, notebooks, erasers, everything is stuffed in the backpacks.
All right, Narani, tell me, how do you determine, because this must be tough, how do you determine which students are going to be eligible to get backpacks?
As you mentioned, there are 5 elementary schools that are receiving these backpacks, and it's just amazing to see the support for our community, parents, teachers, to feel the support from partners. So they just feel so happy, and just seeing the face of our students when they get this backpack is just amazing.
Right. Do they have to meet some kind of qualification to get them?
So we work with the school counselors.
Right.
The school counselors identify the pockets of needs within the school because that first day of school can be so important to a young person. The school system recognizes that, Narani and her team recognize that, and this is part of a support system to get them off to a good start.
Narani, how important are partnerships like working with the guys from Daggett Schuler in terms of what you're trying to do?
They are very essential in our community. I feel like we cannot do it without their support. It's just amazing to see and to know that we have support in our community. And so our teachers can feel, that support, our parents, students, they feel the support from partners that really care about them.
And Griff, piggybacking on what she said a minute ago, you get a lot of feedback too, you and David, right?
We sure do. The administrators and the parents in the individual schools have given us a lot of feedback of just how much this means for these individual students. It's making a difference in their lives at a very important part of every kid's life, which is the start of the school year, and
right.
Being on equal footing with other kids with a good backpack and the right equipment from the very beginning gives them the confidence to start the year great, and hopefully that carries through the entire year.
As we close out, David, any final thoughts on what kind of gratification you get from this?
Well, the gratification is seeing different segments of the community coming together for a common cause to support our young people, because our young people are our future.
Right.
And the school system is kind of the center point of that, but doing this program with the Winston-Salem Police Department is a huge example of how communities can come together in a positive way to do positive things for our community.
Yeah, the future, you're exactly right about the kids are our future, and what you and Griff and everybody do with the police department, school system, helps the kids have a future,
Yes,
as well as
absolutely.
be in the future. Up on screen, wsfcs.k12.nc.us is the school system website. Hope you'll check that out. And if you need the services of these gentlemen here, daggett-sewerlaw.com, or you can call 336-724-1234. I appreciate everything all you do. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you. Thank
You going to
you.
hang around for the
Thank
round
you.
table?
Yes, sounds like fun.
We'll be back in just a minute.
The world's brightest are Fulbrights, Goldwaters, McNairs, and Spartans. Prestigious doesn't have to be expensive. UNCG. Find your way here.
Back now on Triad Today, and we're going to tackle the topic of pain management, which is something I know we can all relate to and wanting answers to. We have a very special guest with us right now. Dr. Kyle Sebastian is pain management physician with Novant Health Spine Specialist. Good to see you.
You as well. Thank you for having me on.
Via UNC and Wake Forest, which we discussed before we started taping this, and you're very conflicted. I know that between the two. Now, seriously, we all experience pain of one kind or another, but we're not always sure when to seek professional help. So what advice do you give on that?
So I think generally it depends on how long the pain's been there and what type of pain the patients are having. So if it's something that just started, maybe you were working out in the yard and feel like you threw out your back, or you were playing with the kids and injured your knee or rolled your ankle, those sort of things, if they're not responding to things like Tylenol, ibuprofen, ice and heat, easy things you can do at home, probably the best place to start would be your primary care doctor. They're usually the easiest to get in touch with, have a quick appointment with, and they can start you on the right path for either if they need imaging studies, like if they want to get an x-ray to rule out, worse problems, potentially try different medications, or potentially refer to physical therapy or other specialists if they think it would be warranted. Now, if it's lasting longer and longer, potentially over that 3-month mark where we consider it now chronic pain.
So that's what you consider chronic.
Yes, sir. So anything lasting over 3 months is technically considered chronic pain. So I'm obviously happy to see them at that point and see what other options we'd be able to provide to them. And if they'd be candidates for any procedures or injections or things like that, we'd be able to offer them at that point.
And not to get too far in the weeds on this, but if I'm having this pain like that and I've gone to the primary, do I ask the primary to make an appointment with you, or can I just call your office? How does that work?
The easiest way is to get a referral from your primary care office, because they can fill out the paperwork and have everything ready to go, and that way we get all of your medical records along with that.
All right, Doc, so suppose you're seeing me, you've identified I've got chronic pain. Let's say it's back pain, for example, and medications don't seem to be working, whatever. What do you tell me? What are my options, and how do you explain it to me?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So normally what I'd say is that we've got 3 classes to kind of work with. So there's therapy of different kinds: physical therapy, occupational therapy, potentially cognitive behavioral therapy to work on the more mental aspect of pain. Those two go very closely hand in hand with one another. There's also medications that you touched on. Sometimes we just need to try different medications or change dosages of medications to get better pain control for you. And then there's also injections or procedures that we could offer. So it really depends on the type of pain that you're having as to what I would generally recommend going forward with. Typically, I start most conservative with therapy and medications, and if those aren't providing the benefit that we're looking for, I tend to move forward with the injections.
And then, of course, there's always a possibility that you can say, look, I think you're a candidate for surgery. When that happens, and if it happens, how do you collaborate with surgeons in your team throughout the Novant system? How do you do that collaboration to help the patients?
So I'm very fortunate to work with some wonderful surgeons. So at both clinics that I go back and forth with, we have surgeons that also use those same offices. So it's not uncommon that we'll be in the clinic together the same day, where I'll be able to walk down the hall and just say, hey, do you mind looking at this patient's MRI with me? Or do you mind poking your head in at this patient? I'm concerned about X, Y, or Z, and get their opinion in that moment. And so that can be one avenue for trying to collaborate with one another. But for the instance where I'm just by myself in clinic, I might make sure that we have exhausted all conservative measures for those patients like we talked about before, the therapy, medications, and injections.
Right.
And if the patients are still unsatisfied with the amount of relief that they've gotten, I take it upon myself at that point to see, is there a potential surgical fix for them? Is there something that might be of interest? And place the referral to the surgeons at that point.
I'm just curious, since you and I just met a few minutes ago, who or what led you to a career in medicine like this?
I'd probably have to give it to my mother. So she's lifelong nurse. She worked in ICU, in retirement facilities afterwards. She's kind of covered the whole swath of nursing care.
Okay.
And so she was able to introduce me to all kinds of different physicians that she had met and worked with in the past. And so I've shadowed anesthesiologists, I've shadowed orthopedic surgeons, I've shadowed everybody in high school and in college. And I just kind of knew from an early get-go that that's kind of the path that I wanted to take.
How about that? So is she proud of you?
I hope so.
We'll have to have her on sometime.
That's
give
right.
A testimonial, see how much trouble you were to her when you were apprenticing. Up on screen, you can visit novonthealth.org. We hope you do that. Now, for Novant Health Spine Specialists specifically, you can call 481-8670. Doc, I appreciate everything you're doing.
I appreciate you.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today is now streaming on WFMY Plus, available free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Back now on Triad Today, we have a special first-time visitor to the show, and I'm so glad she's with us, Captain Frances Banks. She's with the Greensboro Police Department. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You and Patrick sent me an email not too long ago and said that you wanted to talk about this new program, and it's something called 373 SLOW. What is that all about?
So within the city of Greensboro, one of our number one complaints is traffic. Throughout our survey that we distribute to the citizens, to the residents of Greensboro through Blockwise, that's what we found out, that everyone complained about traffic. So when we read the survey and got the input, a lot of the issues given, it didn't have the specifics as far as your neighborhood, the street name,
right,
and what the complaint was.
Right.
It's just a person saying, hey, I have speeding in my neighborhood, or hey, they're always running the stop sign.
Yeah.
So 373 SLOW was created so that residents can call to give specific information that will guide law enforcement to their neighborhood.
How long has this program been up and running?
I'll say since maybe April or March of this year.
April, March. And you know, I'm guessing, we don't have to give statistics or anything, but I'm sure there are accidents that occur because of speeding too, so that's got to be in the back of your mind, right, with
Yes.
this campaign?
Speeding is a contributing factor to collisions, to vehicle collisions.
Captain, how do you decide and select specific areas of Greensboro to sort of monitor it within this program? How do you do that?
So it's based upon the number of complaints that we get that guides us to the area, and then the captain, which is either the captain over operational support or over the district, they'll go and they'll monitor the area.
Right.
If they observe enough violations during the time that they're monitoring, then that's when they will send out the other officers, maybe traffic safety unit or the patrol officers who are assigned to the area. They'll send out those officers to educate and then to also enforce.
I want to get kind of personal with you for a second as a first-time visitor, but also because of your rank. You know, we've talked a lot on this show with other segments about the shortage of women in law enforcement. So to you personally, how important is it that we recruit more women to be in law enforcement?
I think it's very important. Men do a great job, of course, but females, they're able to provide a different perspective. They're able, in some cases, to relate to the situations or to the incidents that are going on. So I think, well, yeah, it is important to hire females in the field of law enforcement.
Yeah, and I know you all do that now with, you know, Chief Thompson and everybody really making an effort to do that. And I agree with you. I think it's important. Now, how long have you been on the force? Because we talked off camera about the fact that you were born in Greensboro. And what high school did you go to?
Eastern Gifford.
Okay. Now, so how long have you been on the force?
22 years.
Wow, you don't look old enough to be on the
Thank
force
you.
for 20 minutes. Now, who or what led you to a career in law enforcement? Did you have a mama or a daddy involved with it? Did you have a teacher that said, hey, you'd be good at this? Or, I mean, how did you come to go into this?
Growing up in Greensboro as a child, the representation of law enforcement did not look like me. In fact, I didn't see a lot of African Americans in the field of law enforcement.
And no women, basically.
No. So I knew that I wanted to do something where I could, for one, have a voice, and for two, Be the person that people could go to in case they need it. Be relatable. So that's really what drove me to law enforcement.
Yeah, because even in my day, 100 years ago, the parents would tell you, the officer's your friend, go to him if you need help. And I think that's exactly what you just said, that you want to bring it back around to the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
I think that's great with all the
Thank
service
you.
you do. Up on screen, for traffic complaints, you can call 373-SLOW, as Captain Banks talked about. Also, you can go to greensboro-nc.gov/department/police, and you can go to GPDC, which is, gpdcareers.com, which goes back to what we were talking about, recruitment and that kind of thing. Captain, will you come back sometime?
I will.
Thanks for all you do for everybody.
Thank you for saying that.
Be right back after this.
North Carolina's economy is growing, bringing new businesses and opportunities. The need for electricity is growing too. At Duke Energy, we're meeting the challenge, providing even more electricity that's cleaner, reliable, and that stays affordable. We're getting out of coal and reinvesting in our communities with a diverse, balanced mix of energy sources and making targeted upgrades to the grid so that North Carolina can thrive in a smarter energy future.
Back now on Triad Today, and have a very familiar face with us here from Duke Energy. Hank Hennings, Manager, Local Government Community Relations for Duke Energy, but Hank brought along a special guest. Chris Kirkpatrick is a lighting specialist for Duke Energy. We welcome both of you gentlemen. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
Hank, let me go to you first. It's going to sound like obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. We all know that you guys at Duke Energy help keep the lights on in our home, and we thank you for that. But there are a lot of lights outside the home. There's street lights and all sorts of things. So what are we going to talk about today, and why is Chris here?
It's a great question. So a lot of people don't realize this, but we actually have a separate lighting group for our street lighting program. I wanted to bring Chris here, who's our lighting specialist, and he covers an area all the way from Burlington to Wilkesboro.
Yeah.
And takes care of all the lights in between. And so customers often will see outages and how do we report them, who's taking care of them. We thought it'd be good information for them to understand how we operate.
Yeah, Chris, I didn't know until Hank was telling me, and he sent me an email about it. I didn't know there was a whole separate division under you, what you're doing. What's the mission of your team, and what are your responsibilities?
All right, back in 2018, as a company, we decided that outdoor lighting was so important that we needed to separate it out and make it an entity to itself. So what we did is kind of organize it. We have our own managers, our own crews, our own engineering that's designated just for lighting.
We'll talk about how to report outages in a second, but while I got you here, when you do get a report and you've got to work on trying to fix an outage with a street light or something like that, on average, how long does it usually take to try to get it back up and running?
Our goal is to get it running within 3 business days.
Within 3 business days from the time it's reported?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, what type of repairs do you have to make? Because I'm thinking, of course, I'm not very technically oriented. I'm thinking, well, I guess it's just a light bulb like in my kitchen or something. But what kind of repairs do you have to make?
Sometimes it's just as simple as the bulb. If it's a high pressure sodium or a metal halide bulb that's bad, we'll replace the bulb. Sometimes it's the photo control. We replace the photo control.
Is it ever like wiring stuff? I mean, what all kinds of stuff can go wrong?
Yes, we get into where you get ballasts burn up, and you have wiring issues, and you have to replace the fixture, or even get to the point where the feed is bad, and then you have to repair the underground or replace it.
Go and trace that underground. And then I've heard times where people will actually have a car accident, unfortunately, and they'll run into something, and that affects that too, right?
It does.
Chris, do you think there's ever going to come a time where in the future where that you guys will have, at Duke Energy, you'll have the kind of technology and power companies throughout the nation to where something will automatically tell you when a light's out and you don't have to worry about somebody like me calling you?
Oh, it's a good thing that you asked that, because currently right now we have a program in place where we're installing smart nodes. And that's the PCs actually communicate through wireless telephones back to a control center.
Right.
We're placing those on every light repair or install that we visit right now. And hopefully in the near future, we'll get to the point to where that technology self-reports outages.
And then you'll know right away.
Yes.
That'll cut down on the time to get it back up and running. Chris, what's the best way for somebody to report? And maybe it doesn't even have to be on their street. Maybe they pass by taking the kids to school, or they're coming back from the market or whatever. What's the best way for somebody to tell you the light's out?
Of course, you can call the 1-800 number, 800-777-9898, but really the best way to do it is to go on the internet to dukeenergy.com.
Okay, so up on screen, let me make sure I get this right, because it also goes to, it's 1-800-POWER-ON. Is that what it stands for?
That's what it stands
for. Okay. I'm a little slow. You have to forgive me.
That's okay.
And duke-energy.com/outages. So those are the two things up on screen. Before time gets away from us, Hank, I know you encourage folks to call when they see an outage, and you're proud of the work that Chris and his team are doing.
Yeah, like Chris said, our goal is 3 days. We want to be responsive. Just let us know that the lights are out and we'll jump on it.
All right. And folks, if the lights are out in your kitchen or something, I'll give you Hank's home phone and you can just, I won't do that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all the work.
Thanks for having us.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back down on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. They do a great job here. There's something going on all the time at the garden. Check out their website and find out. Something going on all the time here every week. And this roundtable on my right, but always political left, Ogie Overman. David Daggett, we held over from the last previous segment, is with us from Daggett Schuler. Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, until now, cell phone use at schools in Forsyth County has been left up to the individual principals of those schools. But the new policy requires elementary and middle school students to just keep the phones, quote, out of sight, unquote. And with high school students, they can use their phones during lunch. Guys, are you okay with this new policy, or does it not go far enough? I mean, should all the phones just be confiscated? Ogie.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but I really think, Jim, that kids need to learn how to be without their phone for 6 hours.
David.
It's a step in the right direction. I think it's going to take some time to sort out what the exact policy should be and how this is going to work. The biggest blowback you're going to get is from parents who want to check in with kids all day long.
What do you think, Keith?
Well, parents shouldn't be checking in with kids all day long. Parents should be checking in with the principal, and if something happens, the principal will get in contact with the parent. They should not have phones.
I agree. Some universities are still withholding diplomas from students who were arrested while protesting against Israel's war with Hamas. In general, guys, are you okay with withholding diplomas from students who have been arrested on campus? Not just protesting, but arrested. Ogie.
I don't necessarily agree with the protesters, but still, that's two separate things. They're already starting to get radicalized, and if they get their diplomas withheld, that's just going to make them more against the system or the government or America or whatever.
David.
Yeah, I think the public has conjoined the two issues, the protesting and the arrest for violating the law. In my opinion, those are two very, very different things. We need to separate that. Getting arrested for a crime is different than just protesting. And if it's based on a crime, I'm okay with it.
Mr. Granberry.
I think that if you're a student, you should be able to protest. That's what you go to school for. You shouldn't be getting arrested for protesting, and you shouldn't get your degree withheld for protesting. That should be something that should be encouraged, as long as you're not doing any criminal acts.
All right. A woman and her 4-year-old daughter were dining at a New York Burger King when the girl discovered her food was covered in blood from a cut on a BK worker's finger. Burger King only offered a refund. They said, we'll just give you a refund. But the girl was traumatized. She now has to undergo regular tests for HIV and hepatitis. Guys, does the family in a situation like this deserve financial compensation? And if so, how much? Ogie.
BK gonna be paying. Daggett Schuler would love to get a hold of this one. That's got to be big money.
In general, maybe not just this case, in general, I mean, should they get some money?
Absolutely. It's negligent infliction of emotional distress. and it's a real thing to this young lady in this situation.
She's only, what, 7 years old?
Yeah.
Something like Keith, what do you think?
I couldn't have said it better than him.
Yeah.
He said it the best way.
You say a lot of things. You say a lot of things.
I couldn't say that better. I mean, absolutely.
1 year.
That's the first time you've ever complimented me.
I know it, man. I'm sick.
Yeah.
I'm sick today.
You heard that.
Look
We have
at
a
me.
record
I'm
of
sick.
it. He's sick. I've said that for the last 10 years. 1 year ago, the city of Denver gave 800 homeless people $12,000 with no strings attached. Now, 1 year later, they're checking back, and over half of those people have used the money to secure affordable housing. Would you like to see Triad area cities offer this same program, Ogie?
On the surface, I think I do, Jim. I think they need not supervision, but some people, a group of people helping them along to navigate their way back into society and, normal living. Some of them are going to just go out and blow it, but I'm
Right.
glad to hear that over half.
Yeah, over half of them did, David.
Yeah, I think if there's a structure to it that moves these people through, I think it's a great thing. What most people don't realize is homeless people cost us a whole lot more than that $12,000.
Right.
So if that works, that's a positive.
Give them $12,000 each, Keith?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. Now, a lot of people, you're dealing with mental illness. So I think we have to attack the problem. The problem is mental illness. And if you can attack that, then giving them a hand up is positive.
According to a recent report, an increasing number of celebrities and people who are wealthy are paying for regular MRI scans to facilitate early detection of any possible medical problems, just like a checkup. Should insurance companies and Medicare cover the cost of a periodic MRI scan for all people? Okay.
Absolutely, Jim. I'm still paying for scans, MRI, CT, PET scans. I'll be paying for that for a long time, absolutely.
Should we have it?
I think it should be based on medical opinions. I actually looked into getting one of these celebrity scans just to see what's there. Asked a doctor friend, and he said with no symptoms, you're going to find so many benign things. Will be chasing red herrings.
Right.
It'll drive you crazy.
Should
So you
we-
have to base it on symptoms.
Should we all be covered for an MRI?
I think we should be covered for MRI.
Yeah, I think so. All right, I was going to ask about the election. So much has happened since we had our last roundtable, but things have changed. So very quickly, a couple seconds, does Kamala Harris have a chance of winning North Carolina?
A good chance, good chance.
David?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, yes.
Keith?
Yes, based on the governor race, absolutely.
Okay. Finally, a recent study by the Gottman Institute says that if you kiss your significant other for 6 seconds each day, you'll have a better marriage and relationship. Guys, do you take time to kiss someone for 6 seconds every day, Ogie?
I do. It might not be a continuous 6-second kiss, but I kiss her at least 6 times
So
a
it's
day.
broken up
Easily.
during the day, but at least 6 seconds. David, you
So
kiss?
I read a piece a long time ago that it was 7 seconds. So I make sure to give a 7-second kiss, not just
At one time.
at one time. And boy, do I enjoy it.
Yeah, Keith, do you kiss anybody for 6 seconds every day?
Did you say, do I kiss anybody? What do you mean? What do you mean by that, man? What are you insinuating?
You can kiss off. All right, that's all the time. That's all the time we have. Oh,
sick
except for
today.
this, a couple weeks ago in Chicago, near Chicago, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was just driving erratically. It's a true story. They're bumping into things, speeding, and just driving, and they finally crashed into another vehicle. The driver of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was charged with hot dogging it. That's an old phrase. All right, for all of us here at Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.